So it wouldn't be questions answered without a dog update. This is Sammy. Can you lower the camera down, Michaela? Sammy is now just turned 9 years old, and she's a New Yorker. She's from Westchester County. And come on, Sam. So just wanted to show everybody. And then Savannah, who is born February 2nd. So let's see, March, April, May, June, July, August. Coming up on 7 months. All right, yes. I'll trade you. So she started off like this, and it's a picture on one of our videos. Come here, Savannah. Come here. There you go. All right. All right. She's now 38 pounds. She's almost equal to a 40-pound bag of rock salt. And she is a English cream golden retriever. So she's white with hints of cream, and she's going to stay pretty much like that. So the newest addition, her name is Miss Savannah from Alabama, because I picked her up on a farm in Alabama. And so she's the latest in our grouping of puppies. So I guess I'll send them back and we get down to some real questions.
Sure. You want me to do it?
Unless somebody wants to hold her. She's a little heavy. There you go.
Ready?
Okay.
Paula? Paula's like, oh my God.
So, if you would like more recipes and interesting stories about Emery Thompson machine, Christy has written a book. And it's called Making Sweet Success Since 1905. There's 111 different recipes in here, all broken down by the size of machines that we manufacture. So from the very largest to the smallest, to make it easy on you. The stories are ones that of some of the history of Emery Thompson. We go back 121 years, and so there's always been some interesting and fun things that have happened to us in the South Bronx. And that's available by just calling us at our factory, 718-588-7300, and you can pick this up. Christy wrote that. And I'm trying to convince her to write a second one now, all about boozy ice cream. So maybe you'll see that sometime in late winter or early spring.
He does this to me all the time. He just gives a deadline.
I was going to say Christmas. I didn't want you to drop dead on the floor. It looks bad for business. Maybe the boozy ice cream got you.
Yeah.
So definitely you want to check this out. I mean, it's not one of these home recipe ones where it says break 64 egg yolks.
Yeah, no.
Actually, it says break 2 egg yolks, but when you translate it up to the size of the machines, you're breaking 64 egg yolks. This is real practical stuff. You can run an entire ice cream parlor on just this book alone.
Yeah, so, it's great starting points.
And this is the author.
It's a great starting point for, we talked about your flavors, what you like. You can write on the pages, so it just gives you a great base to get started. You don't like something, you can always substitute it for whatever. It's definitely a help to get a lot of people open.
So, first question, Butterfat content. The federal government says that if you want to call this product ice cream, it must be 10% fat in it. And by fat, they mean milk fat, not fat from beef or anything like that, but just in the milk. To give you an example of where 10% is, whole milk is 4% fat, and you know what that tastes like. Low-fat milk is 2% fat, half of whole milk. And you know there's a world of difference between whole milk and low-fat milk as far as taste, but it only went up 2%. So when we talk about 10% as the federal minimum for ice cream, that's way above soft ice cream. It's way above gelato. That's why hard ice cream tastes better. And then it goes up in increments of 2. There's 10, 12, 14, 16. Once in a while you'll find an 18. I once ran 22% fat for the chairman of the board of Godiva Chocolate, and I think it was 22 or 24%. It was so high that everybody in the factory, including the stray cat in the building, were sick within an hour. because the body couldn't digest all that fat. So the point of the story is we come down here to Florida. Typically in New York, we're going to run a 14 or a 16%. Wealthy communities, cold winters, people are used to the higher fat, very super smooth, creamy ice cream. Almost too smooth. Kind of like eating a potato chip without, any chip to it or any ridges. Just bland, a cooked potato. So it can go too far. When Godiva said they wanted to do 22%, yeah, I'll do it. I'd like your business, but this is going to be an awful product. So up in New York, we're running 12, 14, 16. Different parts of the country. Wisconsin is supposed to be the dairy capital of the world, and I think they're usually 14%. We come down to Florida, and everything's 10%, or they're not selling ice cream very well at all. You had a lot of us Northerners come down. We take our Northern ways of, hey, we're used to selling 16%, and they open and they close just that quickly. And I studied it for a couple of years and finally realized it was the same as Paul and I going out to Ruth Chris Steakhouse at lunch in the summer and sitting down and eating a tomahawk steak. Well, I don't know if I would eat a tomahawk, but certainly a filet mignon, wasn't this big. And you eat that, high fat, and then you step out into that 90-degree temperature with 100% humidity, and you faint, or you start sweating, you feel dizzy because it's so much fat in your system that your system can't stand it. As I tell people about ice cream parlors who want to run 16% in Florida, it's really bad to have your customers dropping dead in the parking lot. It doesn't look good for your business. So we said, why don't we drop it down to the federal minimum, which is what Baskin-Robbins did, my father told me back in the 1950s. Absolutely junk. 10%, really low, considered junk by the industry. But they put a ton of flavor in it. When you ate a mint chip Baskin-Robbins, it was really minty. So we did the same thing. We're not going to call it junk. We're just going to say we're doing the federal minimum of fat content and adding so much flavor that there is no question what this is. I had mentioned earlier, if I hand you a pale pink ice cream and you say, great, what is it? I just failed as an ice cream maker because you can't tell it's red raspberry. So when people call up Christy and me and say, what fat content should I run? Our next question is, where are you in the country? And so if you're in Northern California, we're probably going to say, yeah, do a nice 14%. It'll go great. And if you're up in Milwaukee, maybe you're going to run a 14 or 16 just to try to keep warm. So it varies around the country, but in Florida, Texas, throughout the southern panhandle, I'm usually recommending 10%, which is saving some money, but I'm making up for it in quality with a lot of flavor. You can't go wrong with a lot of flavor.
You had a question, Jamie?
Yes. In your dipping cabinets, do you have to have different temperatures if you're keeping ice cream or Italian ice or the gelato?
So she asked, do you have to have your different products in different cabinets, like your ices, your gelato, and your ice creams? Yes, you do. Your Italian ices are going to scoop a lot warmer than your ice creams. So ice creams scoop around 6 degrees. Italian ices scoop around 16. When it's high in sugar or the alcohol that we just made, the gelato, that's around 13 to 14-ish degrees. And we added alcohol, so it's going to scoop a little bit softer. Some dipping cabinets have different ranges where you can make them go, separated. It's one dipping cabinet, but there's a wall partition in there where you can just do one cabinet, but 2 partitions, and then you could do it that way. You could do your basic flavors and just a chest freezer, because everybody knows what strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate looks like. Don't waste your dipping cabinet space if that's what you're choosing to have for those flavors. Everybody knows what vanilla and all that looks like. So save that for your chest freezer on a dipping cabinet. You can also do that for your Italian ice flavors. Jeff doesn't do any dipping cabinets at all, and I'm kind of partial on that. I say, I'm going to look at all your flavors, but you know what? I'm still going to order the vanilla. I'm still going to stare at everything, but I'm still going to order the vanilla. Everybody will typically stick with what they are used to. It's kind of odd somebody's going to just randomly try something different. So I think using a chest freezer to start out is very cost effective and will do you just fine without having to worry about a dipping cabinet for people to see. Samples. I have been a victim of samples. I am against samples. I used to be for it until it happened to me. I was at an event and I was in line waiting for one of our customers. It was a food truck event. They had a food truck. I was standing in line. It was behind a very cute couple that had a little toddler in a stroller, and they wanted a sample. So she goes, okay, and line's building up behind me, guys. And she goes, okay, and she gives them a sample. The husband takes a bite of it. She takes a bite of it. They look at each other. And then they look at the thing. Can I have that? Can I try that one? So she did this 3 times. And the both of them stood there and tried each bite, shared it. And then you know what they ordered?
Cheers.
1 cup with 2 scoops, but 2 different flavors of those 2 scoops. And she allowed it. And this guy behind me was getting frustrated. He's peeking out. He's like, what's going on? It was taking forever. And I'm just, like, all right. So I used to be for samples. If you do, maybe limit it to just 1. That's just my advice. People do get frustrated waiting. They're going to say I stood in line for 30 minutes when in reality it was a minute and a half. But, people are vengeance. They'll get on social media, Google reviews, and they'll slam you where they can. So just my advice on that.
Wait till you get my sister and brother-in-law coming into your store. They're both older than dirt. And they try 3 or 4 flavors, and then they walk out because they're full.
Yeah.
And they didn't buy anything.
Yeah. It's a thing. I always, when people ask me that question, I used to say I think it's a preference on what you feel is comfortable for your area, because not every location is the same. So I think it's a loaded and open-ended question depending on where you're at. But after experiencing that myself, I knew exactly what Jeff was saying. I didn't look behind me, but who knows how many people left. And they were not quick on trying those samples. And I was kind of shocked she was allowing that too, that many, and taking that time on just one customer who wound up ordering a small with 2 scoops and asked for 2 scoops of 2 different flavors. Are they going to come back? No, it was a food truck event, in and out. In and out. Get your stuff and get out.
And if we had had this conversation a year ago, something else has changed in it. And that is, in 2020, we all know we had the COVID going on. Mm-hmm. Well, COVID so spooked people, and the COVID isn't gone. It's just, gone down to where it's a serious cold. But nowadays, if you've got a line of people, and they're doing all this tasting, and there's someone 3 people ahead of me who sneezes, I'll bet you I'm getting off the line, because I'm afraid of getting whatever they've got. Because I'm sitting here, instead of in and out in under 5 minutes, I'm here for 8 minutes or 12 minutes. I'm just going to walk away. And that is a real concern. You've got to keep that line moving. Otherwise, you're going to spook your customers. They're going to leave.
Well, I grew up licking elevator buttons, so I really don't get sick.
Why would you lick?
It's a theory. I'm just saying, I ate plenty of dirt when I was a kid.
Gee, so do my dogs.
Yeah. Any questions? You got to have questions, yes.
So with serving, because we serve out of a concession trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a problem with our Italian ice melting too fast. Is there a certain cooler we need?
What are you keeping it in?
A chest freezer.
And what's that chest freezer set at? Is it a plugged in?
Yes.
Okay, what's it set at?
As long as we can get it, as we're going in and out, is heating up.
Okay, are you making it or buying it?
Buying it.
Okay, Christy alluded to it before. Your chest freezer is like this table. It's surrounded by coils of refrigeration. That's the source of cold. And so it would seem that if the box is set at 16, all the tubs are at 16, but they're not. Most of them are at the temperature that you set it at, except for right here in this corner, and this corner, and those 2 corners. They're colder because the refrigeration goes here and here. So this tub is getting more refrigeration than that tub over there. You go into an ice cream parlor and you see the server easily scooping one product and then struggling with the other. They don't know this trick. The trick is to put your high sugar content products. Like lemon ice is going to be actually your lowest sugar content. Strawberry or cherry is going to be high sugar content because of the sugar and the cherries. Put it in the 4 corners and see if it doesn't do better. to scoop. And then your lower sugar content ones everything should scoop at the same temperature.
How many are you stacking in your chest freezer?
It depends on the event. I can get, what, 16 in there? Double stacking?
So you can buy like a thin foam insulated sheet at like Home Depot or Lowe's. I would suggest going and buying a sheet of that, cutting it to the size of the inside of your chest freezer, and put that on top of your bottom stack, because heat rises. Mm-hmm. So as you keep constantly opening and closing that door, you're letting cold air out and hot air in. So that's going to contribute to your melting. By putting that insulated foam sheet as a barrier between your top tubs and your bottom tubs, that'll help keep your bottom tubs nice and fresh until you're ready to swap it out.
And unless it's your sister, don't just fire the person who's leaving the lid open.
Yeah.
And if it's yourself, shame on you. Oh, it's you. Okay, well, we just solved your problem. You're leaving the lid open all day because it's too much effort to close it.
I've seen photos even, I mean, that's getting a little fancy, but it's the same foam sheet on top where they just lay it on top and then just cut a circle hole to where the tubs are sitting. So you just take the lid off. So it's like its own insulated sheet sitting on top. So every time you open and close it, cold air is still staying trapped underneath it.
I have seen truck owners where the scooper is winning one-arm weightlifting contests in the Olympics because they grab the lid and close it.
Yeah. There's a lot of trials and errors that you're going to learn, discover when you get into this business. Don't be afraid. It's a lot easier than you think. There's a lot of community support out there. There is a Facebook group called Ice Cream Shop Professionals. They are all predominantly Emery Thompson owners. They are an awesome group where you can go, and I myself have even joined it and just listened, read posts, read comments. People like you guys will go in there and just hop and ask a question. You know, ice cream community is probably one of the biggest supportive communities I have known, and I've been around quite a bit of them. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to go strong. There's been topics of what do you do in the winter cold months, you know, that you can do for your ones that are seasonal or where it's super cold, that you can do to suffice your income, or what can you do to help bring up sales. Believe it or not, the cold regions sell more ice cream than the hot regions do. So up north in Colorado and Minnesota and Michigan and Canada, they sell way more dairy than we ever do. That's why Wisconsin's cheese, you know, it's dairy. All the dairy cows are up. Jersey cows where it's cold. You know, there's things that you can dabble into, coffee, you can do baked goods. But don't start doing, like Steve says, hot dog, because then you're going to have hot dog flavored ice cream, and it's disgusting. And then people lose who you are if you're an ice cream store, or are you a pizza shop, or are you a pretzel place, or are you a bakery? I think, like we talked about, the communities, pairing up with your communities, the local bakery. You can make ice cream with the local bakery's brownies, and then maybe collaborate with them and put a freezer in their store to where you can sell your pints to go. That's probably your biggest profits is pints.
Pint sales are amazing. That came around because of COVID, because the stores were closed, and the only person who could go in was the owner. So I wrote some articles, and we were both convincing people, yeah, you, the owner, can go in and you can make and fill pints. You can even fill them right at the machine, freeze them rock hard, and then hire someone younger than me who understands social media and to do your social media for you, and advertise that you're open to run pints of ice cream out to people's cars. So they order the pints, they call in when they're in the parking lot or text in, and the owner, at the worst of it, would run out and bring out the pints frozen to about 10 below so they can drive a half hour, they're not going to melt, and we're getting anywhere from $8 to $12 a pint. So that's now translated into an ice cream parlor where Paula calls me up and says, we've got the Thompsons coming for dinner tonight. Will you stop at the supermarket and pick up a couple of pints of ice cream for dessert? Well, I can't. I'm going to have to, because I've got my 2 golden retrievers with me, and it's 100 degrees out. I can't leave them in the car. I can't leave the air conditioning on. Both the car and the dogs are going to get stolen. And I'm going to be probably 10, 15 minutes in the supermarket. But your store has a little freezer like that one back there. That was about a $200 chest freezer from Walmart. And I just turn it all the way cold. I fill it with pints. And now I have a sign in my store, if I had a store, that says take out pints. I pull up in my SUV, the Goldens are in the back of the car, the engine's running. I run out, I open up the lid, I rummage through, I find my mint chip for me, the coconut for Paula, and now the fun begins. There's nobody there, just a sign that says take out pints. The server over here is working a line, and the server says, excuse me 1 second, runs over to me, says, and the server says, you want a receipt? No. You want a bag? No. Slide your card. I slide my card. I'm back in the car. My job, men don't like to do jobs like that, especially not on the way home after a day of work. My job's done. I'm bringing home the ice cream. Now, 10 years ago, the next person in line who was getting ice cream, and I interrupted the flow, would have said, did you see that bum? He came in here, and he got 2 pints, and he cut in front of me. Nowadays, they say, wow, did you see that guy? Look, he's got his SUV out there with the 2 Goldens. Hey, puppies. And he just ran in and grabbed those 2 pints. He was out of here in 45 seconds. I could do that next Tuesday when the Thompsons are coming for dinner. And it's such an easy sale. Also, the owner of the store this week makes acai berry sorbet. So I came in and I bought an ice cream, and I've got, the kids and my wife and all that stuff, if I had kids and at that age. And we're all buying and we're checking out, and the checkout person says, hey, the boss just made acai sorbet. It's really good, and it's frozen down to 10 below so you can drive it home. Would you like one? And I'll go, yeah, why not? I know I'm going to be hungry by 9 o'clock tonight, and I've got something that just Paula and I can have. I upped the sale of pints, and I was taking out, and of course everybody's paying with plastic nowadays, so it wasn't real money. And I made a great sale, and the customer, got pints. I started talking to a restaurant in Palm Beach this past weekend, and I said, your server comes around at the end of the meal and says, would you like to see the dessert menu? And we always say, because we're ice cream people, we've got ice cream at home. We say, no, we're not hungry. We just ate a big fancy meal. No, thanks, we're not hungry. We'll take the check. If the server then said, we have 2 specials tonight. One is a coconut dairy-free, and the other is a mango ice cream. And they're frozen down rock solid, so you can, I know you only live a half hour from here, you can drive them home without them melting. Would you like me to bring them out in a bag and we'll just put it on your card? Oh, sure. I've already spent $90 on dinner for 2 of us. What's 2 more pints? And besides, it's not the cost, it's I want that ice cream. I know I'm going to be hungry at 9 o'clock tonight. And so I walk out of the restaurant. The restaurant just made $24 more. The hostess or host just got a bigger tip because the overall bill went from 90 to 110, 114, and so I'm going to pay the tax. I'm going to pay tip based on that. It's a win-win for everybody. So you don't have to go into a restaurant and say, you should have my ice cream and you should be scooping it and you need to hire someone to scoop it and you need to have cups and this. Just have it as a takeout item. And it's selling tremendously. And this is all ways of you doing more. Another thing I would do with that is you have the truck. And you probably have certain places that you go with the truck. Since the truck has the license, you technically could go to in front of an office building if your town will allow it. Instead of just selling whatever you're selling, also have takeout half pints. You can have the pints if you want, but also have half pints. Because I'm working in that office building. I'm working in a cubicle, and you come around 11:30, or maybe even you come at 10. It doesn't matter, or 1. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to run down instead of going to Starbucks to get a cup of coffee. I'm going to come down to your truck, and I'm going to buy a half pint. It doesn't matter what my age or my sex or my weight. It's going to be, if I buy a half pint, I can eat that in my cubicle, and everybody's going to be jealous as can be. If I buy a whole pint, Oh, look at Steve. He's eating a whole pint. What a glutton he is. I mean, Steve could be 98 pounds. He's still a glutton. He's eating a whole pint. But the half pint, and if I'm charging $10 for a pint, I'm charging $6 for a half pint. You can get away with it. Because I'm going to eat either that whole half pint or I'm going to eat some of it now and I'm going to put it in the office freezer and, put Steve's do not touch under penalty of death, and I'm going to pull it out at 3 o'clock again. Everybody's going to get jealous all over again. So instead of Starbucks getting the business for a lousy croissant and a burned cup of coffee, they could be buying your ice cream. And it would be another way to just promote. These pints are going to be the biggest business, and when you also add in dairy-free, it's going to be even larger. It's incredible what you'll do with pints.
Another great device, too, for the industry is the Inkbird over there, and that's what's over there next to you?
Yes.
Yes. You go ahead and talk about it. That's another one of Steve's shticks. But it's a great device to talk about, so.
Jeff talks about we're talking about hardening cabinets now. Jeff talks about using a chest freezer from Home Depot, Lowe's, or Sears to harden the ice cream. Remember, we say we're taking the ice cream out of here and then we're putting it in a very cold freezer. A $900 big chest freezer like your lunch is on over there on the other side of the room, that has 3 layers of it that we could put in. It's just one big box, but we could put in a bottom layer of 3-gallon tubs today and fill the whole bottom, and it will harden that ice cream. If I put a second layer in today, the box can't handle it, and it's going to warm up to above freezing, and I'm going to lose everything. But I can freeze 1 layer today. I can make another batch tomorrow and freeze it. And the third day I can make a batch and freeze it. And it acts as my hardening cabinet, which is good. It only costs $900. This thing is the hardening cabinet that we're selling that's made in the USA, and it's made by Cappigiani, my frenemy, and we sell probably more of them than they do. That is 10 times more expensive. So you're just starting out a store, you've got 900 square feet, you're 28 years old, you don't have a lot of money and you don't have a lot of credit. We're going to put you into business for an equipment costs and electric and all that for about $42,000, which is really good compared to we used to be doing, $200,000 stores. And at 750 to 900 square feet, your rent's going to be a whole lot less. You're also going to have less flavors because there just isn't room for it. Plain, flat out in room. So you start out with the the hardening of the chest freezer for $900, and it's doing that work for you. Now your business grows, and you say, these chest freezers just aren't cutting it. I need something bigger, so I go to the hardening cabinet, and that's going to do it so fast and so cold and so much bigger that you'll never run out of ice cream or ices. So now I've got this leftover chest freezer, and I'm thinking of putting it on a truck or putting it out in front and sell Italian ice. But Italian ice, as Christy said, ice cream's 6 degrees, Italian ice is 16 degrees. This box doesn't go to 16 degrees. It only goes to 10 at the most. My ices are always going to be rock solid. Along comes a customer who finds this thing called, it's 2 odd words mixed together that mean nothing. Ink as in a pen and bird as in tweet tweet. Ink bird. You buy it on Amazon. It's about $34. Maybe it's $36 now. They have fancier versions. Don't be like me. If it's fancier, I'm buying it. Then I can't figure out how to run it.
Very true.
Buy the cheap. I had to call Christy on a Sunday evening at 8:30. Christy, I can't get my computer to go on. Try plugging it in, Steve. This thing is really clever because remember, that box is only going to go to 10 degrees. I need 16 degrees. I need it warmer. So what this thing is like your Christmas lights that you put up on your front porch at Christmas time. You string the lights, and then you don't just plug it in to the wall. You plug it into a timer, which is going to turn the lights on at sunset and turn them off at, 1 in the morning, whatever you want, or sunrise. It's nothing more than a timer. This is the same idea. Instead of plugging in the Christmas lights into this timer, we're going to plug the chest freezer in here. And plug it in here, and we're going to take this thermostat bulb and just drop it into the chest freezer, and now it's reading the temperature. So when I plug this into the wall and this turns on, I haven't said anything yet. That chest freezer's at 70 degrees right now, heading down to -9. I don't want -9, I want +16. So I punch in +16 on this. The temperature's at 70, it's going to 60, 50, 40, 30, it gets to 16, and magically all it does is turn off the power. No power, no cold. When the box goes up to 17 degrees, this measures it, and it turns the power back on. It's just an on-off switch with a thermostat. So it's $34 instead of spending $4,000 for a specialty-made box or a box where you've changed the thermostat. So you can buy any old cheap box, even that thing there that's 9 below, and turn it into an Italian ice cabinet or a gelato cabinet or anything you want. So just something to keep in mind, and when you forget the name, call me, and Christy and I will tell you that it's called Inkbird.
Yep, and another thing too to talk about is it's everybody's worst nightmare. It's losing your product in your chest freezer, hardening cabinet, whatever you have. So there's another device. It's called a temp stick. It's about $140. You could buy multiples of them, and it's an app that you download. It's a little stick that you stick in whatever you have, your dipping cabinet, your hardening cabinet, whichever, and then you set it at a certain temperature, and once it gets below that, like say you need your hardening cabinet at 10 below zero, let's say it gets to 0 degrees. You can have it text you, email you, call you, whichever. You can have, I think, up to multiple people on there to alert you, to let you know, hey, something's going on with your hardening cabinet or whichever you put that device in. So you're not coming into work the next day and you had lost power at your shop overnight because somebody hit a telephone pole and now you just lost all your product for the day. I mean, if you're a heavy sleeper like my husband, where you need a train horn in his ear, then it's probably not going to work for you. I would suggest someone else. But that way it can wake you up and alert you in the middle of the night if that happens, or just even during the day while you're on vacation. One of your employees left the door open by accident or something, and you can say, call them up, hey, you know, this is reading off a different temperature. Can you check into that? So just investing in little things like that can be a lifesaver down in the long run, and you don't lose product, don't lose sales, things like that. Any other questions? Yeah. Ooh.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Citric acid.
Citric acid. So Steve is more familiar with that than I am, but what I know
Just because it's used to cut crack cocaine doesn't mean I'm familiar with it. It's great for like lemon ice and stuff, but it can also leave like a burning sensation on your tongue. It's also a preservative. To me, I wouldn't use it if you don't need to. Lemon juice works just as fine. Unless you're needing a preservative, then I would reach out and you get a stabilizer for that before citric acid. You've got a product that you're making for 8 cents, and you're selling it for $3. And instead of using more lemon juice, you're using a chemical called citric acid. Mm-hmm. These Italian ice people drive me nuts because I put them into business. They make so much money that they take January and February off. There's your problem with the winter. And they're on their private island in the Caribbean. And they say, how you doing? Oh, we get by. Or we're doing okay. You don't ever want to use citric acid. That is so 1960. It's unbelievable because it's just a cheap way of making a cheap product even cheaper. Mm-hmm. Just splurge for the cane sugar, splurge for the natural flavors, and if you need something tart, squeeze some lemons. Don't buy the bottles of lemon juice. They're real, R-E-A-L brand, and they're in a green bottle. And it's real, reconstituted lemon juice. Let's try to say that 3 times. And it's just awful. Don't ever sell a cheap product. I once got yelled at by my boss because I worked for a total of 3 fire companies, and the fire company I was working with at the time, they asked me to bring ice cream, and I said, okay, I'm going to make a cheap ice cream and bring it to the Firemen's Festival and give it out for free. He said, if you're going to volunteer to give a product to anybody, or anybody you're going to sell a product to, sell your very best or give your very best, or don't do it at all, because your reputation is going to stand and fall on what you give them. So if someone comes along and says, oh no, I can get you these pecans for half the price of another company. You know, find out why they're half price. You know, have they been sprayed with something that's going to keep them fresh for, you know, 10 years, and so they can use a cheaper pecan? I don't know. I'm just making it up, but keep your quality up. You can always raise your price, and you're going to be rewarded with long lines of people. You're not going to believe the money that you're going to make in this business. A man called me the other day. I was just thrilled to hear from him, and everybody. You know, no offense, but with over 40,000 customers, when Fred calls, "Hey, Steve, it's Fred. How you doing?" And I go, "Great, Fred. How you been? How's business?" I know 47 Freds, and finally I figure out who he is, and I put him into business a year and a half ago, and he's now got 9 push carts, 2 trucks, and 3 stores selling Italian ice. He started with a push cart. It is that profitable. You've got a product that you want, and you're in a fun business. You're not Dow Chemical making napalm. You're selling a happy product. You're going to make a lot of money.
What do they say if you're chinsing on the vanilla?
Yeah, if you're as I said earlier, if you're chinsing on the vanilla, you're cheating on the rest of the flavors.
Yeah.
You know, so don't chintz on the vanilla.
What was your question?
Couple, I guess. On your dipping cabinets and then your freezers. We used to work at Baskin Robbins. That's where we met. And it was
cool.
Once a month thing that we basically turned them off, defrosted them, clean. Is that the recommendation?
Still the same thing. 1/8 of an inch, you're losing about 15% of the efficiency. I learned that from Swenson ice cream parlors on the West Coast years ago. Yeah, keep those things defrosted.
Okay, and chest freezers too. What you're storing is
anything that has what they call cold wall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this wall here is the source of cold. In the Italian cabinets, which are 5 times the price, they're using blowers.
Okay.
But as I like to say about the Italian equipment, at the end of the day, a gelateria in Italy, the stores are closed, he's off the clock, he's cleaning the cabinets and the counters and everything else and being very nice. Then the American is on the clock, he's got an American-made dipping cabinet, and when that bell goes off to go home, he picks up a monkey wrench and throws it at the cabinet and says, "You better damn well work tomorrow," and walks out the door. So we build them rugged, solid, and inexpensive. I don't build dipping cabinets, but the American mades like the Masterbuilt and the Kelvinators and the C. Nelson, my favorite, are just, they're going to go 20 years. There's a cabinet in the back there. It's now 25 years old, made by Nelson. And I haven't even cleaned the condenser.
Yeah, it still works. I've used it. I really like it.
Yeah. Who else before we break for lunch?
So an average cost of a gallon of just classic vanilla ice cream we made before, what do you think it cost us?
Like $8.
$8.
Yep. And then there's, it's by liquid volume. So if you're doing a 3-gallon tub, there's 128 ounces in a gallon. So that's 396 ounces. So then you would divide that by however many ounce scoops you want to serve. So say like 4 ounces, and then that's 50, 60 servings you can get. And then 50, 60 servings times whatever you want to sell it for. $4, whatever, times that. So you're looking at $300 and something off one 3-gallon tub, and it costs you $8 to make.
And your cost is probably a lot lower because you've got far better resources than I do. This gentleman sells more pastrami sandwiches in America than anyone else.
How long does it last in your deep freeze? Like how long can ice cream sit in there?
It can go for probably a couple of months or so, as long as it's really, really, really cold. As Steve said before, cold is your best natural preservative. Some people put air is ice cream's worst enemy. Some people put a parchment paper on top because even though it's full to the top and you have a lid, that lid's not a solid seal. So some people do a parchment paper on top. Now, if it can stay in there for quite a long time. Some people probably go longer than they should. But if it's in there for that long of a time, once again, don't make it anymore. There's no need to even make ice cream to last you that long.
Nobody wants it.
Yeah, there's no reason to even have it in there for months like that. Another trick too is, I don't have one, but I'll just talk about it. So when you work with pints and pint sales, and to eliminate working with parchment paper if you don't want to do that, or buying a lid sealer for a pint, you don't need any of that. Did you go about upside down?
No.
No. So you take your pint and you just freeze it upside down. So once you have filled your pint of ice cream, take it and freeze it upside down in your freezer. Have you ever been and gotten a pint of Haagen-Dazs and you peel it back and that lid is stuck to that pretty ice cream, or a Ben & Jerry's? Well, that's their trick. They just freeze it upside down. You should see their huge manufacturing facility, because the ice cream is sticking to that lid. It's creating its own natural seal where no air can get in there. And then you've got the most prettiest ice cream you've ever seen, peeling that lid off of it.
I think the hardest thing in the frozen dessert business, and then we're going to break for lunch, the hardest thing in the frozen dessert business is don't fall in love with your own product, ever. Because
I like my bourbon.
Oh, well, that's
Okay.
different. That's different. It's got your name on it.
Yes. No
By
touching.
that, I mean two things. One is, don't sell flavors that you absolutely love, but it's not moving. If it's not moving, nobody else loves it like you do. Nobody wants my banana coffee ice cream. So don't sell something that you love and should be selling, but it's not selling. If it's not flying out the door, get another flavor. You only have so many spaces, and you're wasting a space because you love that flavor and nobody agrees with you. And the other is, this is a little more hard to say, but that's probably a 1 ounce portion. So by the time this class is finished today, multiply it by, let's say 150 days. And we will have made 5 different products. Normally when you make ice cream, you're probably going to make 20 different batches in a day. And you go and you take a taste of each one to make sure it's correct. And at the end of the day, did you mean to eat 20 ounces of ice cream today and do it day in and day out?
Yeah.
Watch it. Your cardiologist is not going to be happy with you, because don't keep tasting your own product. You know what it tastes like. You followed your recipe. Leave it alone.
Is that why you gave me the machine at my house to do it at mine? So I'm the one that's at the cost of expense? Thanks.
Works.
Yeah, I sold the ones in the back when I was trying to suck through. I was like, I was skinnier when I started, guys. I promise.
That's what everybody says about Emery
Yeah.
Thompson.